just one moment. Come on, YouTube. You can do it. I know you can. I don't know why it's so slow sometimes. Oh, there we are. Maybe.
Yeah, it's good to see Larry working with you. He seems
All
to be good.
right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Two Guys and a Bible here on Fulfill. William Bell back with us. William, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back, Don. And I know you've been busy. I've been busy, and that's just the story. It seems like the older we get, the busier we get. That shouldn't be that way.
That story? Well, the older you not at all. You and I just immediately before coming on air, you were mentioning Larry having been with me for several programs, and Larry did a great job. He brings a lot of excellent insights into any discussion. Larry, of course, is well read. He's experienced in covenant eschatology. He's been through the wars just like you and I have. And so it was really a privilege and honor to have Len ask me if you were going to be able to be on. And I said, yeah, we're planning on it. And he said, well, just FYI, in case he can't, he said, I'm out of pocket. He's got some back problems. And so they had given him some medication, and he said, I'm not in any condition to do a radio program. Wow. Yeah. So we hope the best for him. He's been struggling with some back issues for a good long while. And so I don't think it's gotten a whole lot better lately, but we certainly need to remember him. So, sure. William, you had go ahead.
I used to have some back issues, a long time ago. This is back before I left FedEx. And every year, like clockwork, my back would go out. Wow. And so and he told me, he says, look, because I would go to my regular doctor and they would give me some, pain pills and antibiotics, et cetera, and then send me to a week of therapy. And it would take 5 days before they could get enough kinks out of my back, and I'd have to crawl on the floor because I literally couldn't get up. And at that time, we were taking care of my grandmother before she passed. Nurse would come in and I would be lying on the floor in the living room. And I would tell Leora when she left to go to work, leave the door open, leave it unlocked because I can't get up to open it. And so when she knocked on the door, I would just tell her, come on in. And I'd be lying on the floor and she'd go upstairs and take care of my grandmother. But anyways, to make the long story short, it would go out every year around June or so, like clockwork. And so when I went to that doctor, he said, look, I'm not here to treat your problems. I mean, your symptoms. He said, I'm here to get me what to take out of my diet. And once I did that, I dropped about 15 pounds in 2 weeks. I was back in the 90s.
Well, you're going to have an awful lot of people contacting you after this show, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it was very simple. I don't know if it works for everyone. But, I used to eat lots of ice cream, cereal with milk and chocolate and stuff. And those things he told me to cut out. He said, cut out the chocolate, cut out the milk, the ice cream, etc. And once I did that, bam, it was a weight loss and it never came back. I mean, my weight's been pretty stable for all that time, and I've not had the back issues.
I know that milk products, almost all of them are just detrimental. And I love cereal of the night. I love a big, I use Cinnamon Life cereal, just really, really good. But I cut back on it. I've cut back on it tremendously. I was eating a bowl of that every single night. And I just noticed several different things happening to me. And of course, I was watching videos on YouTube about the side effects of the dairy products. And it's like, whoa, okay, maybe I think I see a pattern here. So I very seldom right now. I've really cut back on my milk and dairy products. Now I love cheese.
I do
I
too, but I can't.
absolutely
I
love
won't do it.
cheese. Wow.
And
And
you
I
talking
mean
about some sharp
cheese.
cheddar cheese?
Oh
Every now and
yeah.
then, just for taste, etc. But for the most part, I won't do it. As a matter of fact, we went out the other day, Leora and I, and we ordered hamburger because she had like a coupon or something. The one that I ordered came with 2 pieces of cheese, and I said, they kept asking her if she wanted cheese. I said, you don't have to give any. I'm going to give her mine. I told her to take both pieces, but no, I won't eat it as a rule.
Well, yeah. I mean, I love salad anymore, which is something different. So, uh, boy, I tell you, it's hard to give some things up. Uh, you know,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
oh yeah.
You almost
Well,
get
see,
addicted to it.
before my formal debate with Chris Date, I went on a 1 month sugar fast. I mean, I
Mm.
did not have any sugar, and I lost about 12 pounds.
Yeah.
And now I'll be really honest. I don't know that I could tell a difference in my mental acuity, but I know that they say that it affects it.
It
And
does.
so, right now I'm on another sugar fast because I've got this debate coming up with Dr. Richard Carrier.
Hmm.
And now I went off of it last week. We went out to barbecue at one of our local places that and oh man, it had been super hot. I had been out working, and so I broke down and I got 2 root beers. Oh man, that's good. But I'm back on the sugar fast now, and strangely enough, by and large, I don't even have the craving unless it's of an evening after a meal. I'd like to have just a little piece of chocolate, just a little piece of something. But I don't even let myself do that as a
Yeah.
general rule.
Yeah. And then
It's
it's tough. Every now and then, I remember when I was on Body for Life program some years ago, and they everything was strict for 5 days, but on the weekend you could do whatever you want. So I still kind
go
of
all out.
practice a little bit of that habit. If it's on the weekend, I don't judge myself too harshly. If I want to eat something that normally is I won't eat as a regular piece part
Right.
of my
Yeah.
diet.
You've been gone for a while. You were in Ghana, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For almost a month. We want to hear. I've been telling people that when you get back, you're going to give us a report
Oh,
on your back. I want to hear. I want to hear what's going on over there. So fill us in on your trip, some of the activities, and tell us how things went.
well, things were fine. As a matter of fact, I've gotten to the point where I know how to get to Solomon's church without having to have him direct me, et cetera. So the more, and you have to walk quite a bit from the road, through this neighborhood of hills and et cetera. And so I remember walking, and they had uh, either started some building or planted. I think it was a foundation they were laying in that area right where his building is. So normally you would know where to turn. So I kind of missed the turn, and I was walking by it, and Solomon hollered out the building. He said, "We're here, we're here." And so I was able to find it. But yeah, they're doing fine. Solomon is doing very well. They're having baptisms almost on a regular
Wow,
basis.
cool.
And having 2 congregations now. I don't know if you knew that,
Wow.
but they're
No.
they're 2 congregations, and they meet in 2 different areas, and at different times. And then he's doing the radio program, and of course I was there for the radio program. He gets call-ins on that program. As a matter of fact, they called in one guy. We were talking on, I think the study was 2 Thessalonians. And so we were talking about the man of lawlessness and the events of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And so this guy called in, and after we sort of built up the foundation on audience relevance, et cetera. Well, this guy called in, and these are guys from the Church of Christ, a lot of them,
Yeah.
And so he called in and he said, look, he says, I agree with you guys, on this audience relevance thing. And then he had, a question. I've kind of forgotten that one by now. But they are listening. As a matter of fact, Solomon just had a debate last Saturday. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yes, he actually contacted me before the debate, and he asked me a few questions about it, and I from him. He never told me, never reported, and gave me an account of what happened.
Actually, we're going to invite lots of churches, right? This is the way it was supposed to be. And then they cut it down to where it was only about 60 people in the audience. That was still good compared to what they did when I debated there.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so he only had they only had 2 30-minute speeches. And then, of course, they had an extended Q&A after that. So it wasn't much that he could do. And of course, he consulted me as well on some things that would help him out during the process and sit his speeches and everything. And so I corresponded with him a bit and just kind of encouraged him and all. And he, from what I could hear, he did a very good job. They were supposed to have recorded it, and then they said no recording.
Where have we heard this before?
Absolutely. So no recording of the discussion. And I think the main points that the opposition raised was he agreed with some of the points on 70 AD and Christ coming in 70 AD, but he said John 14, and I think there was another chapter that he still held out to be future. And Solomon was quite shocked that several people in the audience agreed that 2 Peter 3 referred to 70 AD. Wow. So he had some people out there. He's doing convincing some of the people who are there. They're listening to him. And when I go, we go to the station together and do the broadcast. And like I said, he gets some call-ins. 2 congregations now going on. Some of the people are at one or the other. And next thing that we're trying to do is get the walls up. We got the foundation. All the traffic goes. It's not like up the hill because they're worshiping in a school building at the present time, and it's not very large. And so it's kind of a hassle. They have to take the seats out and everything when they finish. But he's got the other foundation laid, and so sometime between the end of this and that's going to take him. And some of the people have told him, look, we with kind of where you are right now, how people are, we're still he'll probably have some more growth when that occurs, and so we're looking forward to that. I'm teaching in the Volta region this time, and they were asking me to come, but the gentleman that I usually coordinate with, he was out of town and wouldn't be back. Well, he had something scheduled that week. He was there during the time I was with Solomon, but the week that I was going to be back in the area to go to him, he was going to be gone. And so I didn't get an opportunity to do that, but they're waiting on me to come back again so we can meet with them in Nigeria. Yeah.
No,
well, he's been trying to get me there for about 4 or 5 years as well. So I said that, if we're able, and, Leo and I will go next year to Nigeria. And he said, if you come, we're going to have you do like a campaign and, a workshop or whatever. And so he's really been asking me every school of about 1,300 students. Yeah. Wow. Young kids. And one of the things that he teaches them along the way is they work on a farm so they can, but 1,300, and they do quite well in terms of the school and the as well.
Now, what was
So,
his name again?
his name is James Eblebor.
I know I, of course, don't remember that name right off, but I know that I've corresponded with some people who direct some schools,
Mm-hmm.
and that name is not
Mm-hmm.
striking a bell with me. Now, is
Okay.
this the fellow that you contacted me about sending some books, and I sent you some
Um,
books to send?
I'm trying to remember that, Doug. Let's see. He may be. He would. He would have been one of the people one with Solomon, but that's a
Okay,
possibility.
okay.
I can't say them sure. And then the other is we started working with a church in Pakistan.
Oh my.
Yeah, this guy contacted us, and so we started. We do like a Zoom call on generally on Monday mornings, but sometimes he has an outage where he can't get on. So we did it this morning. The day is Tuesday, right? So we did it this morning, uh, and so that's how we'll alternate. But he also shares it with other people there. He has to get on at a certain time. But they have, and they're in this Islamic
Yeah.
background, and Dale Robbins, whom you know
Yeah.
very well,
Sure.
uh, does the call with me. As a matter of fact, Dale is going to do a class with them on tomorrow. So he does classes with them. And of course, as you know, these people in these areas have being in a place that's just walls and no roof, and they need Bibles and things like that. And so, unfortunately, we're not a big congregation to be able to supply all of that. We do have some people in the congregation who reach out and who help them along the way. And of course, you already know about Brother
Oh yes.
Pennock School there. And so I think
Yes.
one of the most
Yes.
recent things, and Dale and them have been very, very supportive in helping to get the things that they need. I think the last thing was they had a well dug, and now he's having some type of convention, I think, and they needed some food. But they've been doing quite well and being supplied very well. So that's kind of what's
Well,
been
what do
going
you do in
on.
your spare time?
I sit here with Don Preston on Tuesdays and do.
Well, a question that I had was about the Nigerian work, because I know that in 1979 I was actually scheduled to go to Nigeria myself. I was supposed to
Mhm.
go to the southern region, and my contact over there was a, a local missionary. He had been there for years, was a well trusted man. He was well known by several ministers in the States. And his name was Peter Oriaku. I don't know if you've heard that name. Well, here's the problem. I don't I don't think he's still alive.
Oh,
But Peter, and this is way before cell phones and YouTube and what have you, but we corresponded by telegram a good bit. And I had all of my money raised. I had my plans made. I didn't have my ticket purchased, but part a tremendous amount of conflict. Normally, we're just fine. The Muslims don't cause a lot of trouble. He said, now we have to be very, very cautious if we go in the north, because he said that's predominantly run
mm-hmm.
by, unless they think that you're a. And so I said,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
we'll just stay in southern Nigeria, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, it got down within a month and a half of me supposed to be leaving, and I wasn't hearing from him. And then I finally got one note from him, and it said, Brother Don, we're having tremendous unrest. And he said, I'm hoping and praying not to disappear in the middle of the night.
Wow.
But he said it's that bad.
Whoa.
And he said it's government unrest and it's driven by the Muslims. And he said there's a great deal of danger in my country right now. Well, it got down to a month, no word from him. It got down to 3 weeks. I finally sent him a telegram and said, if I don't hear from you within the next week, I'll have to cancel my plans. I just can't come.
Mhm.
I've never heard from him. I've never talked to anyone else who's been to Nigeria, missionaries from all stripes. Nobody's heard from him since.
Mm.
I'm fearful that he disappeared in the middle of the night, like he said he
Wow.
was afraid of.
That could be very possible because I know they've had a lot of tension going on with the Muslims in Nigeria as well as and along with Christians as well. Um, I don't go to the north. I've been told that that's kind of a different country as well. When you go there and you can be deleted, and I don't even think that has necessarily to do
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the southern area, around Cape Coast and even Accra. I see the Muslims interacting all the time, and they just go about, and it doesn't seem to be any issues whatsoever. And that's been my experience. A lot of merchants,
well, that's good.
a
Right.
lot of them are merchants, and you interact with them and you see them going to school and everything. So it seems like they get along pretty well.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's wonderful to hear. I've often wondered, and I knew that Uganda had. I had not heard of any overt animosity between the Muslims and the locals, the Christians and what have you. And so I was curious about it, but I just simply did not know. But when you mentioned going to Nigeria, I'm going, "Ugh, uh, that's uh, that's concerning."
Yeah, well, just from what I know about it, I know there are probably some places that I don't want to go, and certainly wouldn't want to go alone.
Oh yeah,
And only because you know somebody there who knows the ropes, could help you along those lines. So I'm willing to risk it from that point of view, and hopefully it'll keep me out. But I know on one occasion he did say that there was some issues that they were having at one point. So settle down the trip there.
talking about situations like that, it's always troubling. It's always concerning, and as long as there's peace in the neighborhoods, and there's no significant danger. I think in situations like this, we have to be wise as serpents, harmless as
Mhm.
doves, and to make sure that we are safe, so that we can continue to do the
Right.
work. And I know of people, I've spoken to people who have said, well, they're going to go to Pakistan, to Afghanistan to work among the Muslims. I'm not sure how wise that
Mm.
is. If you don't have the locals that will guarantee your safety, you are literally taking your life in your hand
Mhm.
just to walk into the village. And so, who have done that kind of work, it's on the one hand, it's like, well, you're a better man than me, you're a braver man than me, I'll guarantee you. I'm real comfortable right here in southern
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Um, even with Brother Hannock in India, there was one occasion
Oh
where
yeah,
he had to go to an area, and I think it was the government persecution basically that they were having to face. Everything turned out okay, but their lives could have been very much at risk at that point. They're dealing with Hinduism and various other issues there. So those guys,
well,
you have to take your hat off. And at the same time, they're dealing with people who are extremely poor, and they have to worry about feeding them and so remarkable and saying a lot.
Well, it really is. And I know that you do as well, especially with the context that you've got daily basis and sometimes several times a day. Pakistan, I've been getting requests over the last couple of days. One guy that is in India, it really tugs at your heart. Of course, you have to be super
Oh yeah.
cautious. Nothing but con men. They know the strings to pull. They know the stories to tell. And this guy tells a good story, but his story is almost identical, almost verbatim with some of the other stories that I've been given lately. And I go,
Mm-hmm.
okay, they're talking among each other. He said, well, here's what you say. Here's the story that you tell, and so you hear this same story two or three different times within a week or 6 weeks or whatever. You're going, no, I don't think so. But there's just simply no way that a person can help everyone that contacts you.
Yeah.
They're just, I don't care who you are, you just simply cannot do that. Jan and I have tried, and we purchased bags of rice. We've done that, this and that, of people that we felt like
Mm-hmm.
that we had vetted to a certain extent, that we felt like, okay, the name of the brother in India that has been there so long, the local
Probably
ministry,
does.
probably does, to find out about people who were requesting help, and we were able to help a little bit.
Right.
And you know, you want to do a lot. You want to do a lot more, but financially just simply not able to do that. So, I've got to tell you, brother, I appreciate the work that you're doing so very, very much. I've told you this both privately and here on the program as well. Uh, I say I believe that what you're doing there in Ghana is a multi-generational work that is going to impact the lives of countless numbers of people there in Ghana for these coming generations. And you and I probably won't live to see the impact of it. And yet, you know that you're sowing the seeds, not a responsibility to bring the harvest. It's our responsibility to sow, to do the work, to do the teaching, and what have you. And yet, that said, uh, it's just thrilling to me to sit back and to quote witness unquote the work that you're doing over there, and knowing how dedicated you are to it, knowing the good that you've already accomplished, as you've already shared with us. Solomon's work growing and growing, and now Pakistan, now Nigeria, as the word of the work that you're doing. Pardon me, continues to spread out into different areas, and it's almost like, come over to Macedonia and help us.
uh, you know, Raymond, who is
Yeah.
A friend of Solomon, I'm sure you know of him as well. He's, of
Yes.
course, he's graduating in November. He went to university. Of course, we've been instrumental in helping him to get through school. But he was a solid preterist before he went. As a matter of fact, he got kicked out. So, I mean, he's got a badge of honor. He wears it proudly. But he's young, and you were talking about the generations that's coming on, and
Yeah.
he was telling me the other day. He said, "Man, he said it's a lot of people that are now becoming interested." And so that's really, and I'm looking forward to it. So when he gets out of school, he'll probably be in a better position to even do more of the work himself.
Yeah. You mentioned of how the interest is obviously growing. And you and I have discussed this on this program many, many times before. Uh, we've both get a bang out of former preterists who like to say, there are all 14 of those preterists,
Mm,
hiding out, and it's not that keyboard warriors out there. And yet I was sharing this with a couple of different people. In fact, I shared it with Mike Sullivan on one of our recent programs on Friday evenings. I have, and I'm partners with preterist doctrine. Okay.
good.
Even a year ago, it was about 800 registered members, and it was rocking along, rocking along, rocking along. We'd add one or two people a week. Um, but I know we were at
Mm,
2,900 members just last week.
that's
We are
awesome.
we are getting an average, William, of anywhere from 8 to 15 membership requests every single day.
Mm,
And we have people answer 3 questions and agree to 3 conditions. One question, basically, it was heard it
mhm.
from a friend, uh, recommended by Facebook, or et cetera, et cetera. Been doing some study. I'm fascinated by what I'm hearing. And it's just absolutely incredible. And like I said, almost every day, anywhere from 8 to 15 requests. Now, we don't even allow them to become members of that Facebook page unless they answer the 3 questions
Mhm.
and agree to the conditions. Okay. The majority of them don't even answer the questions, and you're going, they're not
Yeah.
tough questions. Really, they're really not. Uh, so I noticed that, I think it was yesterday, perhaps today, Alan Morton made a list of all the new people that had been added just within the last week or so,
Hmm.
and there are over 20 people that have been added to that. And I've noticed any number of Facebook pages that over the last year have gone from 300 or 400 members to where now they're up 800, 900 Facebook pages that are preterist pages that are at
Hmm.
2,000 members and counting. And there's one Facebook page who is run by a guy named Dan Maines. Do you know Dan?
I don't.
Okay. I message and he says, "Hey, Don, I was just wondering why you're not posting your videos on my Facebook page." And I go, "I don't know what it is." Well, it's called simply Fulfilled Prophecies. And he said, "I want to invite you to post your videos on my page." I said, "Okay." I go over there, and William, this 1,000 members.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
since then, it's
awesome.
now 14,000 knocking the door at 15.
Yeah. Well, there you
Boom.
go. There you go. So all the naysayers out there, oh, they got about 14 people.
Yeah. I know you didn't get to attend the Arkansas Eschatology seminar. I guess you were out of the country even at that.
I'm not sure if I was or not. What was the date?
Well, don't
Oh,
ask me that since then.
okay.
Well, anyway, of course, with COVID hitting and seminars being kind of sparse and what have you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I tell you what, Zach Davis and Travis Drum, the local guys there, did an absolutely incredible job. You had your seminar for some years ago. What was it, 2018 maybe?
Yeah,
Had
that
a
was the
hundred
last.
people there, and it was great. Here at Predators Pilgrim Weekend, before Jan's health prevented us from attendance, was about 160 something at one time. So we knocked along, and that's really good. We had great times, wonderful
Hmm.
times. Okay, there were over 300 attendees, William,
Oh,
at
great.
the Jonesboro. It truly was an emotional experience for me. I
Hmm.
mean, you and I have been at seminars where there would be literally just a.
Right. Yeah.
I stood at the back of the auditorium on the opening night,
Hmm.
and I looked out at the back of everyone's heads, and it was just solid people from here to there, and like I said, over 300 people. And I looked at that, and I have to tell you, I actually teared up
Oh, wow.
because and thirst. in the hearts and lives of all of these people. And I don't know how many more people had actually purchased tickets, but who could not come, who won't, life happens, they're not able to come. But I do know that Zach Davis told me that they had a pretty good number of people that took those reservations. And so
Oh, wow.
when it was my turn to speak, I was I think the second speaker on Friday night. Yeah, I said, look, some of us guys that have been doing this for so long, I said, we have spoken at seminars where there were just literally a handful of people. So I said, to look out and to see over 300 people is an absolutely amazing accomplishment. So I said, you need to give yourselves a hand. And people ask me, in fact, Zach Davis had asked me, I think he or Travis One had asked me, well, what do you think? A couple of things. I said, number one, I think after COVID, people are just sick and tired of being told that they can or cannot go somewhere. I said, you can't do this, you can't do that. I said, so I think there's a reaction here. But I said, secondly, and I mentioned all the Facebook pages and the growth. I said, I think it's very, very obvious that there is the beginnings. I'm not going to call it a tidal wave, but there is the beginning of a surge of genuine interest from all corners. And people are saying, there really is something to this. I'm tired of this and that and the other. I'm sick and tired of being told, don't listen to those preterists. Don't you dare study this subject now. You'll get in trouble. You'll be thrown out of the church or for studying the Bible. And so I said, there are many, many factors that go into it. But I said, I think the bottom line is the time has come. I really think that the time has come.
Well, yeah, I think that, as you say, this is the time where all this fruit that, we labored toward, not just us, but everyone, that you're blossom. And I think the next, years where we won't be around, it's going to really make a difference. And when you look at the atmosphere around us and what's going on in the world, people need something at this point. And that might be another part of the encouragement, that they see something a lot more solid than what they've seen in the past.
And there's something going on separate and apart from the growth of preterism, but it actually goes hand in hand. And I think, William, I think that it's going to open the doors of opportunity even more than what we're seeing right now. There's a scholar in England. I mentioned this on Mike Sullivan's program with me, Preterist Apologetics. This scholar by the name of Justin Brierley has written a book entitled The Unexpected Revival of Faith. Now, this guy has a radio program in England, in London, in which he invites top academics who are atheists, agnostics, skeptics, blah, 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 to come on and to have a discussion, a debate with some of the top theologians in the world. And in this book, again, The Unexpected Rebirth of Faith, he chronicles how even some of the atheists that have appeared on his program are now professing Christians. And he documents name after name after name of really, really prominent atheists, skeptics, agnostics, whatever you wish to call them, who, not simply as a result of these debates, but as a result of their own research into chemistry, biogenetics, astronomy. And again, these are some of the top academics in the world in their field. And they've just come to the conclusion you can't tell me that this world, this life that we see around us, came about by accident. There's got to be a designer. And I mean, these are some of the very top people in their respective fields. Now, I made this comment, William. See if you agree with me. Okay, it's absolutely wonderful, in my estimation, that these big academics from every field imaginable are coming to take a fresh look at Christianity and the story of the Bible. Now, Brierley asks some questions. Why is this true? And one of the answers that these academics give is of how did I get here? It doesn't say, why am I here? It doesn't tell us what we're worth. It doesn't tell us our purpose. Atheism does nothing. It answers none of the questions which are fundamental to our very being. All of us want to believe in a purpose, that we have function in this world. Atheism says you don't have any of that. Atheists who have been teaching this godlessness, and they're re-examining the message of Christianity, that among all of the religions of the world stands alone with the exception of Judaism. Every person has meaning and value, and that comes from Jesus himself. So that's part of it. So here's what I wanted to get at. Here are all these academics that are taking a fresh look at faith, and they're coming to faith. But William, you know, later they're going to come face to face with the challenge of Christ. Did Jesus do what he said he was going to do? So they're going to be confronted atheistic on October the 26th. Our debate did get rescheduled to October the 26th. Okay, so Jesus lied or Jesus failed. Now, Richard Carrier believes the entire story of Jesus, the entire story of God, is myth and fable. Carrier have. He doesn't have one. Oh, I could get my morality from Taoism. I could get mine from Hinduism. I could get mine from here and there and, whatever. Well, not really. Not like the foundation that Christianity offers. So my point is this. All of these former atheists coming now to a reef and in the reliability of Scripture, they're going to be reconfronted with the story of Jesus and the promise of his coming. This is where we come in. This is where full preterism comes in. And we've got to keep preaching. We've got to keep teaching. We've got to keep writing. We've got to be creating these videos so that the message can get out farther and farther and farther. And eventually, hopefully, some of these videos will get into the lives of these high academics as they sit and they consider, well, okay, what about Jesus and his promise to come? Did he fail? Did he lie? Have I turned back to Christianity in vain after all? Now, that's my perspective on that. Tell me what you think.
Well, I think that's true. One thing I wanted to comment on that you were just saying that, this message is going to get to the academics. Well, as a general rule, they've been shunning it over the past few years. I mean, it's just like we were talking about the debate just moments ago, how they, try not to have an audience, and we're not going to let you have an audience, as if they control everything. But here's the issue. The people, the students who are going to attend these places are the ones who are eager to learn about it. They're looking for the solutions. They want the answers, and they're not afraid to go and investigate to see what those answers are. And then once they find them, they've got the courage to go to the academics and ask the questions in the classes. And they're going to have to answer them. You know, they're going to be faced and confronted with them. And then can you see this developing even further when they start to do their term papers and their master's theses and doctoral thesis? They're going to be writing about this. So a lot of it's going to be out there. And then once they do, people are going to have to start addressing it. And so that's kind of what I see, taking place in terms of, the academic side. But I think there's so much. I mean, when you look at the political side, you look at what's going on, with foreign affairs, you look at what's going on in the area of finance. I mean, we've got turmoil going everywhere. The endless wars and everything else that's going on. This stuff is bothering people, and they're getting fed up with it. The woke people, and I don't know whether this is a woman or whether this is a man, and the things that they're teaching your children. That people are getting fed up with this, and what they've seen is not working. I think also it's going to impact those areas as well. And, that comes down to some of these questions that, people have had, over the years. Paradigm of go bury your head in the sand and let's wait for Jesus to come and fix it.
Yeah.
And, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. But when you can give them something solid and they see that and they can, prove and you can demonstrate that from Scripture. And now the questions will come, okay, what do we do to make our world better? And this is going to be more appealing to them than what they got from the dispensational paradigm.
You mentioned something back to their professors. Over the last 2 or 3 years, perhaps just the last 2, I have been contacted by no less than 5 doctoral students who have contacted me and said, I've read some of your works. I'm currently working on my doctoral thesis. I would like for you to answer the following questions for me, if you would. And I'm going, wow, I'm more than happy to do that. Now, whether or not they ever quote me as long as they will take the information and incorporate those into their doctoral thesis. Now, if they're doing it properly from a literary and journalistic perspective, then they'll give academic journalistic accreditation. But again, it's not the point. The point is they'll be making the argument that their teachers or their academic professors are going to have to deal with more and more. And I wanted to point something out to you. Pardon me. In our negotiation for our debate, Dr. Richard Carrier as we were working through some of the negotiations, well, in the first place, he has a very confused view of eschatology. I would even say confused and confusing. But here's what he said to me. I would share with you the view that is also shared and held by the vast majority of the end. Jesus believed it would happen in AD 70 and the destruction of Jerusalem. Now, here's a guy who holds 2 major PhDs, okay? One in history, the other one, I think, philosophy, if I'm not mistaken. He is agreeing that the consensus view of academics is, Jesus expected and predicted his coming into the age to occur in AD 70. Well, thank you very much. That's half the battle. Now the question, the only question left is, what did Jesus mean by his coming? That's the only question left. And of course, Dr. Carrier, along with this vast consensus of scholarship, well, Jesus predicted his coming, at the end of time to destroy physical heaven and earth, et cetera, et cetera. Wrong. It's not what he predicted. And so this is what I'm saying. When you and I can, and all the other preterists can demonstrate that's not what Jesus was predicting. The church is missing this point. The church itself is guilty of misinterpreting the point. When we can drive that point home, all of a sudden the floodgates can begin to open. Go ahead.
I'm told by some guys, you know, we've had all of these forums and you know, Clubhouse and all of this stuff, you know, where we engaged with guys from different perspectives. I mean, whether they're Old Testament only people, whether they're Hebrew Israelites, some of them are Muslims, some of them are, you know, Jews. And I mean, we've had just about everything. And with them live in these platforms. Well, I haven't been probably now for maybe a year. I haven't been in actively as I was when it was going on. I think you remember Sharp Spear, maybe. Yeah, you met Sharp Spear when we went. Yeah, so he called me up and he told me, he says, man, he said, look, he said, you need to come back over. He said, those guys are now using preterist arguments to refute each other.
That's awesome.
He said, yeah, he said they have real issues unless they take the preterist arguments. And they've heard Sharp Spear and you know, Pit Boss and all of the ones who've been hanging out over there. Michael, what's his name, that had the debate not too long ago. I can't think of.
Not Miano?
No, not Mike Miano. Mike, oh boy.
Sullivan?
I can't think of his last name. No, it's not Mike Sullivan. He had a discussion with Preston, I think, not too long ago before I went to. But anyway, I'll think of his name. Yeah. But anyway, you know, because he's been very active over there as well. But that's what Charles has told me. You know, I said, well, look, if that's going on, then just let me stay away and let it keep going on. Those guys.
Let me hold back and say sick 'em.
yeah, and you know, so they've realized, they've heard enough. You know, I mean, because they've come with just about everything that they thought they could use. I remember after I had the debate with what was his name? Oh boy, I can't think of these names now. I think he's Israelite, but anyway, I had this discussion with him. And after, you know, I'd had a debate with Josh early on, back in 2014, 15 or something like that. I can't remember. But, you know, they were reviewing the debate. And they would, you know, this oh, yeah, I can't think of his name. But anyway, oh, yeah, he really whooped you in the debate. So they were talking about various points. And they wouldn't let us come in to rebut some of the things that they were saying. They just pretty much shut it down. Like, you know, they gave the pretension, you know, a pretense that they were going to allow us to respond to the arguments they were making. Well, they just did a whole monologue of, you know, this point and that point. So finally at the end, when they were about to cut off, they said, okay, we're going to open it up now. And so they allowed me to come in, and we were talking about the resurrection, because that's what they thought they were really strong on. And we got on Philippians chapter 3 and verse 11.
20 and 21.
No.
Oh,
verse
okay.
10 and 11.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So when they did, one of them, the one that I can't think of his name, that I debated recently, he took one view that it was physical. Josh took the view that it was spiritual, and they were talking about it, trying to use that to refute me. So I told him at the very end, after I had, you know, made several remarks about it, I said, now look, here you guys are claiming that you can refute what I'm saying. One of you claims it's spiritual. The other one says that it's physical. I said, look, you guys get together, work that out, and then call me.
Get back with me. Yeah.
And then I dropped the mic. I just hung up the phone. I just dropped the mic. And well, Elvin and them were still in the they were still in the room. And it tickled me so bad that that's what I did, because as I did it, they were saying, wait a minute, what did he say? Because they were asking anything else. I just wanted to leave with that. He said, man, he said that was the best exit I've ever seen anywhere. But I left them that way. And they knew they were done. Yeah. Because here they are trying to refute it. And one of them is arguing that it's a spiritual, and the other one is saying that it's physical. And so now you're debating against yourself. Figure it out, call me, right, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, and as you well know, in countless discussions and debates, both public, formal, and informal, we see that happen among our opponents. They can't even agree among themselves, and they very often like say, well, look at all you preterists. You can't even agree among yourself. Well, yeah, there are differences among us, no question about it, and we wish there weren't, but we're all human beings, et cetera, et cetera. But for them, for the other side to suggest that they're just perfectly united and harmonious, just recently on Facebook, Stephen Whitsitt, a guy that you well know and I know, he attacked me and said, well, all scholars believe this and all scholars believe that. You're against the consensus. I said, well, let me respond to you this way, Mr. Whitsitt. Even Sam Frost disagrees with you. So I said, don't talk to me about the consensus of people disagreeing with me when and we were in a discussion on Sam's page, as I remember. And I said, he doesn't agree with you at all. He would consider you a heretic for what you're saying here. Boy, that just killed that right then and there.
Yeah. Speaking of Whitsitt, and by the way, I remember that guy's name. His name was Zadok. But anyway, I was just kind of hanging out on Academia, that website, the other day, and I saw where Stephen Whitsitt had published something. I don't know when. Read the first page, and he was saying, well, even Michael Miano admits that all of the early church fathers took a futurist view on the resurrection or on eschatology. And I'm sitting to myself, I said, well, he hasn't read much concerning them. Especially, you and I have talked about Justin Martyr. I said, maybe they did. But here's the thing. We know that some of them took preterist views, like Tertullian on Daniel chapter 9. And then Justin Martyr acknowledged that there were Christians who did not believe in a future resurrection and that people go to their, inheritance upon their death. And I'm saying, okay, so you're saying that maybe the notable early church fathers might have been futurists, but everyone they were dealing with certainly were not. And for him to just kind of sweep over that as if, it doesn't exist, I thought was really, really bad. But that's what he does, pretty much in his, that's standard.
Oh yeah, Stephen Whitsitt in a nutshell. He attacked me several times on that particular discussion until finally I answered him and he just completely disappeared. So that's just the way that he does. He's a what I call a hit and run theologian, and there are an awful lot of people like that. They like to take shots at us as preterists, and then when you respond to them, they literally just disappear and they never answer what we have to say. Well, William, I think we've taken up our time. It's encouraging to hear the work you're doing over some of the other things that are happening in our ministries and what have you as we interact with people on a daily basis. So it's great to have you back, brother, and we'll look forward to having you back again next week. We'll be talking about the priesthood of Melchizedek as it relates to the Messianic temple. And with that, I will say good night. God bless. Good night. All right. Let me see here.
All right. Good night.
All right. Now then, I got to get over here. All right. I think I did that right. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's done. I always get confused on exactly how to do it. Well,
Yeah, she's doing
uh,
fine.
okay.
And how about Jan? How's she
She's
doing?
had kind of a tough time of it lately, but
Okay.
she's, you know, kind of standard. She has 2 or 3 good days and 2 or 3 bad days and what have you. But anyway, give my love to Leora, and I'll do the same with Jan for you.
Thank you.
Good.
All right.